All righty, everybody. Thank you for joining us for talking real estate with the Champions Real Estate team here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate Company. Joining me is Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage. So happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. We want to kind of say that out there to everyone. So jumping in straight into what the market is doing here. So looking at kind of the big picture of it, we have about 1,277 homes actively on the market. You know, kind of same song, same dance as last week. We got 568 homes in the Douglas and Sarpy County, based in the major Omaha metropolitan area, as well as about 311 on the existing homes to check out. So that's basically from $0 all the way up to the couple $1 million houses, as well as in new construction. We finally seen that scale tip a little bit where we have more existing homes than we do new construction. And I think with the nicer weather, we're seeing more inventory come out along place. We're still about that 1 month supply of inventory. Average sold price went up, about another, $1,000. It was $262 last week. But when I looked at the numbers, it's $263. So things are moving in that direction. But let's take a look at what happened since last week. So that's a big picture side of it. So we'll narrow it down just a little bit farther here. So as of from last week, we have 364 new listings, up by about 30 from the previous week. Our pendings, which is the new contracts that went written this last week, is up about 20 to 343. Sold homes went down a little bit by about 60 homes in regards to that aspect of it. So as we see that, the new contracts getting written, more homes coming on the market, that the spring market is very active right now, even though we're not necessarily 100% into spring, but we're seeing more homes come on the market. We have to be very competitive. I think this last weekend, I probably wrote about 4 or 5 offers and missed out on a couple of them. And some of the feedback I'm getting from those sellers agents is that some buyers are waiving appraisals, they're waiving home inspections. They're even paying the difference in the home inspections. So that's something that, Champions Real Estate team, we're really trying to coach you and make a wise, sound financial decision. Because I think some of these, buyers that are making some of these decisions of not doing appraisals and paying $50,000, $40,000 above list price, is just kind of, to me, I don't see how that's very logical. So, but that's just one of those things that we want to give you the numbers. And, and Russ and I, we were talking right before we got on camera here. He's kind of got 5 things to think about, when you're buying the home. And I think that's a huge aspect of it is, working with our team here is basically coaching you and educating you and just want to put you in the best situation, especially in this kind of a crazy market. I've showed houses, this last week that maybe needed a little bit of updating and things of that sort, but, they're still asking top dollar and, they're not even getting, talking to the agents, hey, you got an offer yet? It's been on the market all weekend. And that's very strange to not have multiple offers coming in, on basically any price point of home right now. And so in that case, as a seller, how do you position yourself to get that top dollar and kind of capitalize on that aspect of it? You got to basically have your house ready to rock and roll. Just because it's a seller's market doesn't mean you can just throw anything out there and everyone's going to jump on it. So buyers are very selective, especially if they're going to be offering, a premium for your house. The other thing is thinking about doing pre-inspections as a seller, because that just puts that warm fuzzy for those buyers out there and doing that pre-inspection. Basically, they may not do an inspection. You know what you're getting into from a buyer's perspective. As a seller, there's going to be no surprises if they choose to do a home inspection. And you're probably going to get stronger offers from those buyers because they're going into it with the more knowledge of the home. And there'll be things that you don't know about as a seller that come up that you can address and take care of or adjust accordingly in the price. And even if you adjust accordingly on the list price, people may still be willing to go above that list price, knowing what they know, when they're making that offer. So as we kind of take a look at, the market is still very strong. It's very active, in that aspect of it. So there are a lot of buyers. So I guess we'll kind of touch on base with what's going on in the interest in the mortgage side of it. So I know there's kind of a big meeting. I know Russ and I were talking about that just before, about an hour away or something. The Feds are going to be chatting. So that's why I lean to Russ when it comes to the mortgage industry, because he's up on top of everything to that. So surround yourself with good people, and it makes the job a lot easier. So how are we doing today?
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I see you've got your green on. You look good.
Yeah, right. A little toned down from the collared shirt and stuff. So But anyway.
I happen to have some green in this jacket, and so since it's Fed meeting day, we talked about at 1 o'clock, and today the Fed is going to make their decision. And of course, some of you may be seeing this video after the Fed has made their decision, but we're not expecting that they're going to do anything with the short-term rates. But for those of you that are my age or lived in the 70s and 80s, you may recall the name E.F. Hutton. And there was a saying back in the 70s and 80s that when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen, and it works much in the same way with the Federal Reserve Bank. They'll have a press conference after the news of what their rate decision is, and that will be dissected. The markets will be talking about that probably for the next week. But what we are seeing, of course, and we've talked about this in prior weeks, Mark, is that interest rates are continuing on their upward march, and they will do so for a few more months here as inflation starts to heat up just a little bit. In fact, just this week, we saw rates reach the same level that we were at July of last year. So rates are on an upward march. That's not to say that you shouldn't buy now. Home prices are also on an upward march. And to your point, Mark, one thing I'd like to, 5 things I'd like to throw out to anybody who's thinking of buying a home. 5 points for you. These are very critical in a market like this. First and foremost, listen to your real estate agent. Your decision may be an emotional one. Your real estate agent is making analytical and logical decisions. They're going to be giving you feedback and advice that will protect you, and Mark and his team will definitely do that for you. Second of all, understand your finances. I can't preach this enough. If you're going in to buy a home today and you do not have a financial letter in hand, you are at an immediate disadvantage. And in a multiple offer situation, which I'm finding that roughly 60% of the homes across the country right now are in multiple offer situations. Think about that number. That's huge. I just had one earlier this week, 20 offers on one home. If you don't look polished and clean to that seller, that's going to make it tough for you. Number 3, be ready to move quickly. This isn't a case of I want to sleep on it for a few days. Be ready to go in the event that you want to buy that house, and your team at Champions will help you in that. Number 4, make a fair offer. If it's priced right, shows well, it may not be reasonable. It may not be a fair offer to come in 10% low. You want to talk with Mark and his team. They're going to make sure that they're going to give you the best advice on what a fair offer would be. And then finally, be flexible. Mark and his team are going to negotiate for you as best they can, but you're going to need to have some flexibility too to win a bid. I've mentioned 20 offers on a home earlier this week. In the event that the buyer has a lot of demands out there, that does weaken their negotiating position, but certainly some contingencies make sense. So visit with Mark and his team to make sure that you have the right contingencies, if any, in the offer. So market's going to be interesting for a while. Rates are going to continue to move upwards throughout the remainder of the spring, and so are home values. CoreLogic came out, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and had said that roughly 24% of people that don't own a home, households that don't own a home would like to own a home. That's roughly 10 million people, and our national inventory is 1.22 million, somewhere in that range. So right away, there are your multiple offer situations. There are more prospective buyers than sellers. So you're going to want to make sure you have somebody that works for you, a professional, full-time realtor, and that's what Mark and his team are.
Yep. And ultimately, our goal, when you're in a multiple offer situation, is to get a seat at the table. I mean, if you can get the sellers and as listing, the other agent, the 2 agents talking to each other, rather than just getting a text message or a phone call saying, hey, we really appreciate your offer. It was really strong, but unfortunately they went with somebody else. You don't have a chance in that regards other than to say, well, something else happens or falls apart, give us a holler, but if they call you back and say, hey, would your client do X, or have they thought about this? Well, then you have a chance, so that's our goal, is to, ultimately, yes, get you the house on the first try, but if not, let's get, like you said, being flexible is key. And ultimately, the money talks sometimes, but also at some point in time, it's not logical, to put some of these offers out there, and and every situation is different. If you're planning on being there for 30 years and the only way you're going to leave there is feet first, then great. But, if you're planning on selling it in 5 years, ultimately no agent has a crystal ball. I mean, all we can do is just kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together and see what's going to make the best decision, for you, and where the area of town that you're in, and what is the growth looking like, and, and what's the new construction looking like in that area? Is that competition or not? And so there's a lot of different variables that, go into play than just, that on that street and that block and that neighborhood, what's the neighborhood to the west, to the east, to the north, to the south? What are all those neighborhoods doing? What's the commercial development doing around there? What's the future plans for the areas? And those are all things that all factor into those pricing, and does it make sense? And that's stuff that ultimately, like you said, our goal is to take out that emotion side of it and lay it down and make sure that it makes sense for you, because you may love the kitchen and you may love this and it's got all the bells and whistles, but overpaying for that house, how long do you got to live into it till it catches up, and it is, it's just right now they're not building any more kind of that first time home buyer home. So in that sector of the market, it may make sense to pay a little bit more, because it just, there's a lot of different spokes in the wheel, and it's just trying to figure out which way we're going to get the wheel rolling, and it can get frustrating for agents, and mostly the buyers and the sellers, that if you keep missing out on offers, and sometimes you got to think outside the box and and reach out to your past clients, and maybe they know their neighbors selling, and and find those houses that maybe aren't on the market. I gave a call to a friend of ours that lives in an area of town that we have clients looking in, and they had two people that are like, hey, call this person, and so it's just finding those resources and being connected within the city and within the the areas of town that you can call, and maybe that person might not sell, but their neighbor is. They know their neighbor's thinking about selling. Well, that's great. Then let's look for a fair price, and you may pay a little bit more, but ultimately that house isn't going to go to the entire market and go up $50,000, and it makes sense for both the buyer and the seller. No one's taking advantage of anybody. They're just getting fair price for both sides of it. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you had to add, but
I could talk about this all day, Mark. But the bottom line, the one takeaway is listen to your realtor. They are there to represent you and help you have the best opportunity to win the home. Professional realtors like Mark, they know what they're doing. Follow their lead.
Yeah. And if they're just telling you, hey, put this number, put a blank check on it and get a house, ask them pointed questions. What's the area doing? There's just those aspects of it, and make sure you're getting sound advice, and just ask multiple people in that aspect of it. So
absolutely.
But, anyways, yeah. As always, you can jump on to our let me show you here. Share the screen if it's working. There we go. Our championsrealestateteam.com. You can jump on here, obviously check out any of the active listing houses, as well as you can do a market insider report here. You can jump on here, and essentially what this will do is you can do your own specific area. So create your own market report. So you can put your own neighborhood, you can put Arbor Gate in there, Coyote Run, the Ridges, Cambridge Oaks, any of those Briar Hills, you can put those in there, and once a month it'll send you exactly what's going on, basically like a stock ticker of houses that are sold, active, and pending in your neighborhood. And then the other thing is on our Champions Real Estate Team Facebook page. So it'll be 10 days from now on March. We get over here. Event. So we are having our Easter egg hunt, our drive-through Easter egg hunt. We've been doing it over 6 years now. This year, we're going to basically go at Walnut Grove Park from 1 to 3 o'clock. You can come anytime between then. We'll have goodie bags as long as they last. Stuffed a couple hundred of them, so hopefully they'll last a little longer. Where are we going here? Get back here. So try to pull in the event page. Our 600 drive-through. So basically, you can drive through. We'll have about 20 some eggs, big eggs, large ones I got, and they'll be in trees or behind, kind of out in the park. You can drive around fine. And obviously it's supposed to be like 60 some degrees and sunny. You can stay at the park. So we're trying to be COVID friendly. If you want to, hang out there at the park, and then we'll have the Easter Bunny there as well. So you can jump out, and take a picture with them at the main pavilion with regards to that. So we'll also have Easter baskets that we usually raffle off with the special coins in the eggs when we do the traditional egg hunt. But we're just going to have you fill out a form. We're just going to do a drawing for the Easter baskets, and then we'll just deliver them either later that day or, that Sunday, or we'll get them to you in that regard. So just want to give you guys a heads up on that. So that's March 27th, 1 to 3, Walnut Grove Park, about 150th and Q Street, right by Millard South High School. So just one big loop that we'll go through there. So, but as always, if you have any real estate questions or any lender questions, give myself, Mark Wayner, 402-672-7670, or Russ Williams a call at Williams Mortgage. You can comment on the post, and we'll get in touch with you with regards to that. So as always, have a happy and safe St. Patrick's Day, and we will see you guys next week.